Hey, what's good, everybody? Tunji again from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this Esther movie poster. So, without any further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. All right, so let's create a new document. So, I'm going to click on File and select New. And for this project, I'm going to use 720 by 900 because I'm posting this on Instagram. So I'm going to make my resolution 100 and I'm going to call this Esther. Then I'll click on the create button. So the next thing I'm going to do is to change the color of my background to this shade of color. So I'm going to click on the OK button and I'm going to fill this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to drag in my floor. I'm going to position this here. And so we're going to draw the heels now. So I'm going to create a new layer and call this heels. Okay, so the tool I'm going to be using to do this is going to be the lasso tool. So I'm going to draw a heel somewhere here, and I'm going to switch this to this, and I'll change the color of this to dark brown. I'll click on the OK button, and I'll use the same shortcut to apply the color to the layer, but this should be behind the layer of the floor. So I'm going to create a new layer again, and I'll call this heel 2. And so for this, I'm going to draw so and hit Alt backspace again. Okay, and so the next thing we are going to do now is to create sun effect. So I am going to click on the adjustment icon here and select gradient. All right, and I'll click on the gradient option here, and I'm going to change this to gray. All right, and this should be 0. Okay, so I'm going to add another slider here, and I'm going to make this be something around, let's say, 10. Okay, and I'll add another one here. This should be 30, I guess. Yeah, I'll position this here, and I'll add another slider here again, and I'm going to call this 80, and this should be 90, while this need to be 100. All right, so I'm going to add a color here. So this should be something orange. Like, let's say light orange, like so. Just push it around yellow a little bit. Click on the OK button, and this should be here. So this is gonna be white. I'm gonna add another slider here, and this one needs to be orange. Click on the OK button, and this should be here. Okay. You know what? Let me just make this a little bit more yellow. Okay, and yeah, so it should be here. All right, so I'm going to click on the OK button now, radial. All right, and I'm going to click on the OK button. Then I'm going to change my blend mode to hard lights. All right, then I'm going to change the position of this to somewhere around here, like so. And so I'm going to put this here. So so we can even move this in a little bit, just like so, and I can even scale this. All right, and I'm going to select the OK button. Now I'm going to make a copy of this again, and this needs to be here, and I'll move this here and just make this one a little bit bigger. I'll move this here, just like so. I'll select the OK button. So what I'm going to do is to add a layer mask to this, and I'm going to switch to black and select the brush tool, and I'll go to my brush setting here and turn on transfer. So if you don't have a graphics tablet, because I'm using a graphics tablet here, just reduce your flow to let's say 15. But if you have a graphics tablet, make sure you change your control to pen pressure. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my brush tip setting and I'll make sure I'm on the soft round brush. Zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to gently take out some part of the heel, like so. Gently take it out, just like so. You know what? Let's just move this in a bit and just reduce the scale. So I'm going to do the same thing here because I can see some part of this heel on this side of my second heel. So I'm going to take that out, like so. Make a copy of this again because I still don't like the fact that the sun effect is not strong here. So I'm going to move this up and I will increase the scale and just move this to somewhere around here and hit the OK button. And I'm going to drag in my city. So I'm going to drag that and drop here and move that to be somewhere around here, like so. I can even make a copy of this and just push this to the here. Move this beyond this. Let's move this here, like so. All right, then I am going to merge visible of the two layers and I'll convert this to a smart object again. Then I'm going to go to the adjustment tab and bring in my curve adjustment and click on this icon to apply it to just only the city layer. So I'm going to just drag this down like so. Push that down like so. I'm going to add smoke effect to this. So I'm going to create a new layer and call this smoke, the OK button, and I'm going to pick a color from here. Select the OK button to the brush settings and I'll select my brush. Now make sure that you have the Ceasar Graphix brushes. So if you don't have it, there's a link up here that you can click on that will take you to the tutorial where you can get the brushes. I'm going to select this brush and I'm going to still be on my transfer option. I'll reduce the size of the brush and turn on shape dynamic, and I'm going to turn off pen pressure on the shape dynamic and just increase the angle jitter. So the reason why I'm increasing the angle jitter is so as to be able to have different rotation of my brush tip. So I'm just going to apply the brush now. So I need to brighten the orange, that is the smoke. I'm going to use Ctrl L on my keyboard to bring out the level adjustment, and I'm going to just increase the brightness of this a bit, just like so, and I'm going to select the OK button. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to add depth to this my floor here. So I'm going to start with applying level adjustment. So I'm going to go to the levels adjustment and I'm going to move this like so. Now, I only want this to apply to just the floor. So I'm going to click on this icon and I'm going to move this to this angle, and this needs to go in this way. This needs to go in this way. All right. So I'm going to move this in. Hit Control I on my keyboard to reverse the mask, and I'm going to go to my brush settings and go to the brush tip and use the soft round brush. And I'm going to increase the size of my brush. Then I'm just going to bring back some part of the levels to the scene like so. So I'm going to just apply it here. So another thing I'm going to do again is to create a new layer and call this shadow. No, floor shadow. And I'm going to apply black, or let's say dark brown, to this like so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blend this because I don't want this to apply to shadow part of the floor. So I'm going to hit the multiply option here and I'm going to blend this. I'm going to move this like so. And I'll hold down Alt and break the slider and push this to this side. And I'm going to move this to this side like so. And I'm going to select the OK button. Go back to the city. All right. and I'll go to filter, blur gallery, and select fill blur. And I'm just going to gently apply blur to the city. You know what? Let me just make it 1 point. And I'm going to select the OK button. Then I'm going to change the project to black and white. So I'm going to go to the adjustment tab here and pick black and white here. All right. Then I am going to just reduce the strength of the black and white just a little bit. All right. Not too much. Then I'll create a new layer again and I'll call this dodge. I'm going to select OK here. And I'm going to zoom in. Select brush. All right. Then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to switch to this shade of color. And just in case you care to know the color code, this is it right here. So I'm going to select the OK button. And I'll double click to bring out the layer style option. And I'm going to uncheck transparency shape layer and select the OK button. And I'm going to change my blend mode to color dodge. All right. Then I am going to zoom in. And I'm going to gently apply brush to the project just like so. All right. So this is good. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create a gradient map. So I am going to go to the adjustment tab here and click the gradient map option, and I am going to um, click here and come here and use a shade of color. All right, something darker, and I'm going to change this to orange. Okay, and this is supposed to be yellow, and this is supposed to be white, or not too white though. Let me just shade of color and select the OK button, and I'm gonna move this here, select the OK button. I'm gonna change my strength to 71. Yep, this is good. Now you see we're beginning to have that movie effect look on the project, but I don't want it to really affect the bottom part of the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the brush tool. I'm going to switch to black. So I'm going to gently take out the gradient from the floor, from this side of the floor, excuse me. All right. And so you know what? I think I should just move this dodge above this. Yep. And I'm going to reduce the strength of the fill like so. All right. I'm going to drag the scarf image in like so. I'm going to hold down Control and click to create a marquee of the scarf, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this fill. All right, then I'll come here to my foreground, and I'm going to change the color of my foreground to BC5 734. All right, and I'm going to select the OK button and fill the layer with the color of my foreground, but this needs to be behind the scarf layer. For now, I'm going to hide it, and I'll change the blend mode of the fill layer to multiply. All right, make the scarf layer visible. So I'll change the blend mode of the scarf to color bond. All right, then I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'll right click and rasterize this, because I still want to see the shadow on this scarf to be more stronger than what I have now. So I'm going to bring out the level and just make the shadow more darker like so, and I'm going to select the OK button now, but this time I'm going to change the blend mode to multiply. So I'm going to reduce the opacity of this a bit, just like so. I'm going to add a light effect to the scarf, but I am going to create a new layer for that first, and I'm going to call this light. All right, then I'm going to select the OK button, and I'm going to change this to soft light. And this needs to be inside the scarf fill layer. Then I'm going to change the color of my brush to something orange. So I've selected the OK button. Then I'll select the brush tool and make sure that you are on the soft round brush when applying this. And I'm going to turn off the shape dynamic. I'm going to gently apply the brush to the layer, just like so. All right, then I'm going to create a new layer again, and I'm going to call this highlights. Then I'm going to select the OK button, and I'm going to make this highlights. So I'm going to turn this off and make my blend mode be on color dodge, and I'm going to select the OK button. But this time I'm going to use something lighter and a little bit yellowish, and I select OK button. So I'm going to apply this now, and I'm going to just gently apply that on the scarf or the cotton. All right, so I'm going to gently apply that like so. You know what? Let's just use something more yellowish. All right, so I'm gonna just make this more yellow. Select the OK button, and I'm gonna gently apply that. Yeah, this is good. So I'm gonna gently apply that to the project, just like so. I'm gonna do the same thing here. You know what? Let's just apply that brush to the soft light layer also. I'm going to just gently apply that here, just like so. Okay. Before and after. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna put everything here in a group. So I'm gonna shift select all the scarves, and I'm gonna hit Ctrl G on my keyboard and call this scarf. All right, then I'm gonna bring out the levels adjustment and just so as to boost the shadow and the highlight. I'll put that here and just click to apply it to just only the scarf layer and push this out like so. Just go in like so. Then I am going to hit the Control I on my keyboard to reverse the mask, and I'm going to select the brush tool. Then I'll switch to white and just make the labels appear on some part of the scarf like so. All right, so I'm going to put the scarf in a group now. I'm going to bring the silhouette of the king. So I'm going to drag that and drop here like so. All right. Then I'm going to hold down Control to create a marquee of um, the king, and I'll hide the layer of the king, and I'll add a layer mask to the scarf like so. Then I'll make the king layer visible again, and this time I'll add a layer mask, and I'll select the brush tool. Then I'm just going to take out some part of the king. I'm going to just delete that like so. All right, this is good. No, let's just make this, apply this back here. Okay, and I'm going to, let's just take it out from this part of the project, just like so. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control again and create a marquee of the king, and I'm going to select the layer of the scarf and create a new layer and call this shadow, king shadow, king shadow. All right, and I'm going to hold down Control Shift and I to reverse them, and then I'll pick this shade of color. Excuse me, I almost forgot. And I'm going to select the OK button, and I'm going to gently apply the brush to this side of my project like so. So I can even hit Ctrl H to hide the marquee so as to be able to see my brush movements. Right? Let me just do that. Then I'm going to choose, I'm going to switch to the darker shade of brown and just gently apply that to some part of the project like so. All right, then I'm going to hit Ctrl H to bring out the marquee and hit Ctrl D to deselect. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of the king's layer like so, and then I'll go to blur and select Gaussian blur. Okay, I'll make this go bigger like so, and select the OK button and select the overlay. Then I'm going to use my brush to take out some part of that layer from my project. All right, now the reason why we did that is because of this glow effect around the edges of the silhouette. All right, but we don't want it to apply to some part of the project like the way we have it now. So I'm going to gently take it out like so. All right, then the next thing I'm going to do is to add noise. So I'm going to hold down Alt and click to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this noise. I'm going to select color mode and select soft light and check the fill with soft light neutral color 50% gray option, and I'm going to select the OK button. Then I'll go to filter, noise, and select hard noise. All right, so I want this noise to be more stronger, so I'm going to just dial this up like so. No, that's too much. All right, then I'm going to select the OK button just like so, but I don't want this to apply to this side of the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control to create a marquee of the king, and let's just add this part to the selection, because if we don't, we are going to end up having noise on that part of the project. So I'm going to select the layer mask icon. Now we are now doing this the other way. I'm going to hit Control I on my keyboard to reverse the mask, and then we have this. So I am going to bring in the scarf layer again, and this time I'm just going to scale this real big, and this should be somewhere around here, and I'll change my blend mode to multiply, and this should be behind the layer of the king, and this should be here, and I'll right click and rasterize this. You can even rotate it just like so, or better still, let's just move it here. All right, let's just put it there, and I'm going to scale this real big. This should be here. So let's do this like so. All right, then I'm going to add the layer mask to this and select the brush tool, and I'm just going to take out the cotton from, or the scarf, or the cotton. Yes, should be cotton from the king's silhouette. Okay, then we have this. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring in the picture of Esther, but this needs to be above all the layers. So I'm just going to drag that and drop here like so, and I'm going to scale this down and position her somewhere here. And I'm going to zoom in. All right, and I'm gonna hold down Control and create a marquee of Esther, and I'm gonna create a new layer and call this lights. Okay, so I'm gonna select the OK button. I'm gonna hold down Alt and click in between the two layers to put the light layer inside Esther's layer. Then I'm gonna hit the Control D on my keyboard to take out the marquee, and I'm just going to pick a color from here, just say here, and I'm just gently apply the color to the light layer. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to create shadow for Esther. So I'm going to, let me just give her Esther, okay? Then I'm going to create a new layer to create a shadow for her. So I'm going to hit shadow, and I'm going to change to this shade of color here. I'm going to make this more darker. Select the brush tool, increase the size of my brush. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to apply my brush to this side of, sorry, this needs to be outside the mask. All right, so I'm just going to gently apply the brush like so. It's the eraser tool. Gonna use the eraser tool to just take out some part of the shadow. So you know what? Let's just add layer mask to the layer of Esther, because I can see some white lines here. So I need to take those lines off. So I'm going to switch to brush tool. Just take out those lines. All right, I'm going to select the brush tool, and this is what we have. And I'm going to blend in the shadow, but first I need to change this to multiply. All right, and you know what? Let's just make the shadow more longer. Like, the shadow is too short for me, so I'm going to increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to extend it to the side of my project like so. And we can even blend if this. So I'm going to double click on this to bring out the blend if. This needs to go from here. So I just need to go like this. Okay, so this is good. I'm going to select the OK button. All right, so I'm going to put the layer of Esther in a group. I'll call this Esther. Okay, and I'll duplicate the gradient map. All right, and I'm going to apply it here and just, oops. Actually, that's not the plan, so I'm going to position it here and hold on Alt and click to apply it to just only the layer of Esther. All right, so the strength of the gradient is too much, so I'm going to make this part darker. All right, so we'll make it darker like so. And click the OK button, and this needs to move out a bit. Move this out a bit. And select the OK button. I think I should just do the same thing here. So I'm gonna make this darker. Select the OK button and just move this out. Move this out like so. And select the OK button just like so. All right, and so the next thing we are doing now is to take this to camera. Okay, so the next thing we're doing is to stamp visible of all the layers. So I'm going to hold down Ctrl Shift Alt and E to do that, and I'm going to go to filter, and I'll select camera filter here. Okay, so here we have now in camera. So I am going to increase the exposure a bit, and for the contrast, dial that up a bit like so. And for the highlights, that needs to go up so as to add more, make the sun effect more brighter. And for the texture, I don't want too much texture. I'm just gonna push that down like so. All right, I don't want too many contrast on the pixels. And for the curve, I'm going to just move this down like so to do the edge curve, and just push this up like so. All right, And for the detail, yeah, I want this to look more sharper, so I'm gonna click here, add more sharpen to it. And so we are going to add effect to this. So I'm gonna add grain. So I'm gonna add more noise to the project like so, and I'm gonna add a veneer like so, and I'm gonna select the OK button. And so for my floor here, I think I'm still not feeling this side of my floor. So what I'm gonna do is to add a color balance. All right, so I'm only going to affect the shadow, which is here, and I'm going to add a little bit green, all right, to this. I'm going to add green to this, and push, add a little bit red also. So then I'm going to just hit Control I on my keyboard to reverse the mask of the color balance, and I'm going to select the brush tool because I only want this to apply to this part of the project. So I'm just going to just switch to white and apply white to the side, and we have the color balance on just the floor. All right, so I am going to bring in the title. So I'm going to just type that now. Okay, so I still need to do this. So I'm going to put this here. So I'm going to put this inside the name. All right, and just going to scale this big like so. And we have this. You know what? I'm going to add black here so as to make the name, the T visible. So I need to add a shadow behind it. Okay, and this is the final project. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you have not subscribed, remember to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring the bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. I'll see you guys again in the next one. Peace.